The Italian group, Liaison Office for the South Sudan Humanitarian Help, is situated in Macerata, Piazza Strambi 4, on the headquarters of Popularum Progressio, allowed to be used by Bishop Ercilio Tonini. It is called SISS, Spedizione Italia Sud Sudan. We publish a new bulletin for aid requests. We also notify the press and public opinion on the civilian and military situation in the South Sudan. The Italian groups send medical and clothing supplies which, after being checked, are sent to the honorary French consul in Kampala, René Dole, through the Uganda French embassy. René Dole then delivers the supplies to the South Sudan Liberation Front. We already send hundreds of parcels. The young workers don't receive any remuneration. For the South Sudan independence, our groups of friends organize conferences, list of signatures, sit-in and mass exhibitions in the various Italian cities. What follows is an expression of Mario Lizza, medical student, leader of the Roman group Aiuto al Sud Sudan, made in the city of L'Aquila in 1969. noon of the 18th of November 1970, I'm crossing the river Nimur, representing the border between Uganda and the Sudan. I'm entering Owini-Ki-Bul headquarter. I don't have the official pass permit of Colonel Joseph Lagu. He's the Supreme Commander of the South Sudan Liberation Front. My company, Spedizione Italia Sud Sudan of Macerata, delivers clothes, medicines, and various other aids to Colonel Lagu. In spite knowing me, Colonel Lagu doesn't issue me the pass permit, as in the surrounding area there are 3 Israeli instructors who are supplying weapons, but not enough to engage the North Sudan forces. The children are amusing themselves in the waters of the Nimur River. A sentry patrols the Uganda's border. Sometimes the Arabs launch an armed attack from Uganda. I'm arrived here from the Uganda town of Palabek after a 5-hour cycle ride. I'm escorted by Police Commissioner Dizan Olueni and Captain Manasseh Atot. The sentry scouts the savannah. He fears the North Sudanese soldiers might attack from there. My dearest friend Ferdinand Goy, the legendary major of the Anya-Nya guerrillas, although terminally ill at St. Mary's Hospital in Gulu, Uganda, has organized my trip to the South Sudan. He dies on the 9th of November 1970 at 10 o'clock. I found myself in a small transit village called the Warehouse, as the supplies coming from Uganda for the South Sudan come here. The guerrilla fighters with the families are based there. The guerrillas own old English weapons that were used by the colonial ex-Equatoria Corps, as some were given to them by the Israelis, who were bought in Uganda. The children stay with the parents. They have administrative and military duties in the base camp. A pleasant surprise. I find in the warehouse the parcels that we send from Macerata. We already send many parcels with medical equipment, clothes, and army uniforms for the people living in the territories controlled by the Liberation Front. At present, there are about 200 parcels in the warehouse. From Macerata we send the goods to the French ambassador in Kampala, who handled them to René Dole, honorary French consul in Kampala. He then gives them to the treasurer of the Liberation Front, Pancrazio Ochieng. All rations are imported from Uganda. A civil administrator controls the transport of the rations. There are good tribal understanding amongst the South Sudanese populations of Equatoria and Uganda. The English colonialists drew borders by just tracing lines in the geographical maps for the tribes Lotuko, Acholi, Madi, Bari, Didinka. However, the colonial borders don't prevent the movements, as the Sudanese tribes are helped by the Ugandan counterparts with food, weapons, and various other things. The warehouse is also equipped with a health service, with 2 nurses trained in Uganda and in Owini-Ki-Bul headquarter. The child mortality is high, especially in the South Sudan upcountry. The ailments are tropical diseases or malnutrition. The children are dying of hunger and diseases caused mainly by the Arab North Sudanese oppression, supported financially by the Arab League, the Soviet Union, and the Italian Foreign Minister Amintore Fanfani. The soldiers, civilians, including children, receive daily meals of 2 cups of rice or manioc, or dura, a cereal substitute of bread, together with a sauce of peanuts, palm oil, and red chili pepper. However, the fighters eat the meals separated by the other tribes. They don't mix easily amongst them, in spite of the wishes of the leaders of the Liberation Front. The Acholi and Lotuko tribes of the Equatoria region that manage the warehouse don't mix with the Denka, a tribe of Barb el Ghazal, territory over 1,000 kilometers to the north. The soldiers are wearing civilian clothing, old army uniforms or green outfits bought in Uganda. Many of them wearing felt hats of the ex-Equatorial Corps, decorated with feathers. A leopard cub has been caught. It will be sold in Uganda. The money will be used to buy arms and ammunition. Some guerrilla fighters are training to crawl and hide in the ground and grass of the savannah, to approach the enemy as near as possible in case of an ambush, or to attack a building or the police barracks along the way. The fighters are listening to a lecture by Police Commissioner Disan Owini, wearing a blue shirt. The soldier in charge of the warehouse don't do combat duties. They are either too old or too young. Some are 13, 12, and even 11 years old. A woman is busy cooking a chicken. I bought it for our lunch with Disan Owini and Manasseh Atot before journeying on the safari. The trip on foot and escorted to reach the near village of Adodi. My purpose is to get as far as possible from Colonel Lado headquarter, as without a travel permit I'm considered an illegal alien. Disan and Manasseh are organizing an escort formed by a soldier armed with a submachine gun stand with 30 rounds, another fighter with a rifle Enfield and 6 rounds of ammunition, plus 3 porters. I could, if I wish, also have a stand gun. We leave at 4 p.m. on the 19th of November 1970. The temperature is 40 degrees centigrade. We should reach Adodi at night after 5 hours of march. During the march at night, I got lost in the savannah. I'm rescued by Manasseh Atot. The following morning, the 20th of November, I'm exhausted. Last night, I was cheered by the Adodi's officers. I got drunk with Marisa, a strong maize beer. Amid the great chief Samuel Lolik Lado with his escort. He wants to know me. Lolik carries an old single-shot English rifle from the time of Gordon Pasha, but the weapon has no rounds. With Lolik there is another chief, the Muslim Abdel Rahman Sule, who in 1953 founded the Liberal Party. Lolik and Sule are old friends and chatting easily among themselves. And yet Rahman Sule is wanted by the Muslim Sudanese government. He tells me how the northern Muslims treats the southern Muslims. They have to be wiped out. It shows you that the fight between North and South is not about religion. Adodi has been burned out twice by the Khartoum troops. It has been rebuilt again. The families with the children have returned. In Adodi there is no hunger, so Uganda is only 10 kilometers away and the local are planting crops. The children are not undernourished. They are only few bloated bellies caused by worms as they drink stagnant water full of bilharzia and amoebas parasites. Mostly everybody suffers from these parasites that attack the urinary tracts and intestine. There is also a teacher helping the people to read and write. I filmed the children intent in the games, like our children. In Adodi, they are fighters without firearms. They are using spears and arrows to oppose the Arabs. I'm unable to go with the fighters to attack the Iddo camp near the town of Torit, as I'm in a bad physical shape. So the Adodi commander organizes a training exercise for me to film it. The commander is a captain now. Told me he was a sergeant of the English troops of the Equatorial Corps and that he fought the Italians in Ethiopia during the Second World War. About 40 soldiers are ready to attack the Hido camp in the town of Torit, 50 kilometers away. They will join 200 more guerrilla fighters on the way, under the leadership of Major Andrea Makur. The guerrillas are well trained. They are professional shooters, very capable and determined in combat. The Arabs, with their Simbas mercenaries, Egyptians, Eritreans, Libyan soldiers, suffer heavy losses. In the Hido camp, there are helicopters and Soviet instructors. Unfortunately, I'm that tired and feverish. I would not be able to walk the 50 kilometers to Hido, get into the fight, film the action, and get back. The last photos I take are of Manasseh and Disan, of the escort, the hill above Adodi, and the village in the valley. I had to flee to Uganda to avoid Colonel Lago capture. Unfortunately, I'm intersected by a Colonel Messenger as I'm about to cross the border. I'm forced to backtrack to the warehouse. I'm now feverish and dehydrated. We went back through rocks and swamps. We were unable to reach the warehouse, so we spent the night on top of a hill under a cold rain. The 20th of November, my birthday. I walked the last miles, supported by Manasseh Atot. As I reach the warehouse, I'm dropped in a hut outside the camp, few meters from the Nimu Rapids, full of crocodiles. They take away my films and photo rolls that I have been shooting, accusing me to be a spy and a mercenary. I saved myself showing the picture I had with Major Ferdinand Goy when we were in Italy. I told them of the death of Ferdinand at Gulu. The fighters are sad, knowing the news. Some are crying. Ferdinand was a good and wise man without fear. The Arabs named him Debar el-Ghazal Terra. On the 21st of November, they allowed me to go to Uganda. I'm back in Gulu, then Kampala, where I'm hiding from the local police in the residence of the French honorary consul René Dole, and after at the French embassy's press attaché, Claude Lorsen, for 2 weeks to recover my health. I take pictures of his charming daughters. Rita Herhart, a good friend of the South Sudan, who had contacts with the front politicians, said that Jacobi is an opportunist, traitor, and informer to the Sudanese embassy. Because of that, Rita had to take her children to a safe place to avoid retaliations. The impounded film will be given back from just before the peace agreement between North and South Sudan in 1972, but the film had lost its impact. This film is all I shot in 4 days, and now I want to inform the friendly population of the South Sudan, now independent, with the wish of peace amongst the various tribes and the political and military leaders, as the South Sudan is in the center of the African continent. So it should have a strategic role between African countries of the North and the South. In 1971 in Rome, with 100,000 young people demonstrating for peace in the Third World, the representative of the South Sudan and their students took part in a march for peace and development of a South Sudan independence.